How you going, people? Oh, this is a good earning to hate. All these cops and attorneys got together and scammed people on DUIs and made them pay thousands and dismissed their cases using their positions to get money. Absolutely outrageous. All these guys ought to rot under the jail. And you know what? None of them lost their immunity. None of them can still be sued because of back the blue propaganda bullshit. Earning the hate. Welcome to another episode of Earning the Hate. Okay, so I'll start with this little 2-minute thing here on the news just to kind of get you up to speed, and then I'll go over some of the plea deals and kind of what I see from behind the scenes. Here we go.
Law. This comes just weeks after the New Mexico Supreme Court petitioned to suspend his law license. Jason McNabb shows us the implications this could have for the future of the scandal.
Well, Shelley, that's right. Defense attorney Rudy Chavez was first mentioned in the scandal at the beginning of the year, being named in the first two plea
He just looks like a Weasley defense attorney, but I digress.
Plea deals related to the case. Now he's allowing the state to suspend his license, and KOAT's legal experts.
He's allowing the state to suspend. He voluntarily gave up his license because he knew he was going to get suspended. But they probably wouldn't have suspended him because the lawyers and judicial system protects cops, lawyers, judges, all of them.
Says this could just be the beginning.
KOAT first told you about Rudy Chavez's involvement with the DWI enterprise scandal back in March, following attorney Thomas Clear III. Clear pleaded guilty to federal racketeering, bribery, and extortion charges back in February. Court documents revealed a second attorney was accused of paying off an officer to not show up to court, leading to a dismissal of a DWI charge.
So what they were doing, the cops would arrest people for DUI. They would take their driver's license so they couldn't drive, immediately suspend them. Then they would give the driver's license info to this attorney and their investigator, the attorney's investigator. These attorneys would say, we can get you off for thousands, blah, 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 blah. If they agreed to pay, then the attorney would get back with the cops and tell them, don't show up to court and I'll get the case dismissed. And then I'll throw you some money and free hotel rooms and some trips, etc. And so the cops would go, okay. And the cops wouldn't show up in court, the case would get dismissed, and they would basically extort these people for thousands. Outrageous. How does a cop lose their immunity? Supreme Court says they lose it if they break the law or break policy. Not one cop to date has ever lost their immunity.
Accusation brought to the New Mexico Supreme Court's attention in the guilty plea of one of the officers implicated. In the February plea agreement, former APD officer Honorio Alba said, quote, I accepted and agreed to accept United States currency in coordination with co-conspirator 1, which is Thomas Clear III, Mendez, who was Clear's private investigator, and co-conspirator 2 for my agreement to act or fail to act in such a way that the defendant would avoid criminal and administrative consequences related to their DWI arrest.
Well, he may avoid criminal, but he still was unable to drive and lost his license when they seize your driver's license. Then they give you a temporary one that you can only use for emergencies or something. It's just outrageous. I mean, DUIs have been out of control for a long time. They're a moneymaker. I think the DA dismissed over 300 DUIs because of all these officers. Every DUI in that state ought to be freaking fighting and saying not no, but hell no.
Chavez was found to be co-conspirator 2, the attorney representing the defendant in that DWI case. In response, the New Mexico Supreme Court filed a petition to have his law license suspended. A hearing in front of the disciplinary board was vacated last Thursday, meaning Chavez willingly gave up his ability to practice law.
He determined that he wanted to give the license up voluntarily rather than face basically the onslaught of information and evidence that the lawyers for the Supreme Court had apparently gathered.
It's important to note that Chavez has not yet been charged federally, but KOAT legal expert John Day says there's a possibility that could change.
And this was the state Supreme Court taking a preemptive strike before anything happened in federal court.
Day believes the federal prosecution is far from over. Recent data Target 7 compiled also shows 4 more officers could be involved, as they also have high dismissal rates comparable to those implicated in the scheme.
What we've seen here is a real methodical prosecution at work. Looks like they're working their way up the ladder, going after people who were maybe at higher levels of supervision in law enforcement.
outrageous. You know what? Back the blue. This is, I'm sure, an isolated incident. All cops are good. Keep promoting the stupid propaganda that all cops are good and there's only a few bad apples. So in this article, they go through the massive corruption. They're calling it the DUI enterprise. It took over federal court documents. So all these documents where they took these plea agreements, they're not sentenced yet. I want to know how much time they get. Because if all these guys get probation, it is a slap in the face to every citizen. And they ought to be outraged. So each of these people, if you go to this article, and I'll try to put a link at krqe.com news out of Albuquerque. And I think it's just called the DUI scandal, if I'm not mistaken. Plea deals for the scandal. So anyway, if you go here, you can click here and find each one of these people that took their plea deal. Bribery, conspiracy to commit extortion. He was interviewed, internal affairs. So he quit the department instead of being interviewed so he wouldn't be fired. And then if he would have agreed to be interviewed by the department, he gives up his right to take the fifth because it's not a criminal investigation. It is a departmental investigation. So any incriminating statements he would give to the PD could be used against him. So that's why he refused to talk. Let's see. He admitted we're not investigated discipline. This guy took a plea deal also. Same thing. He didn't take it. He resigned. Here's his plea deal. If you click here, Thomas Clears, I guess the head attorney that's in charge, he's probably going to get the most time. A lot of these officers, they charge with RICO, which is good. So anytime you get a racketeering, RICO, I think, is a racketeer, influence, and corrupt organization conspiracy. Let's see. He left his law firm. Oh, poor guy. Intentionally failed to appear. The officers would intentionally fail to appear to get the case dismissed. So all these freaking sleazy ass cops who are running around, we got a hard job. You guys got to back the blue. It's really tough out here. We get free medical and retirement and overtime and everything's paid for, and we get to beat the shit out of citizens and we can't get sued, and nobody gets us for criminal charges, and we can do whatever we want, and we have a really tough job. Back the blue. I am so sick and tired of these freaking cops that back these dirty cops and won't even say what. None of the cops turned in each other. The person that turned them in was one of the attorney's secretaries or the attorney's investigator. None of these cops turned in each other because they're all crooked. Freaking law enforcement. This guy with his little bow tie was also with the police department. If you click on any of these plea agreements, you get the full agreement, and it goes into, represented by counsel, rights of the defendant, consents to cross, blah, 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 waiver of plea deals, sentencing. So this guy sentencing, he could be for 20 years, and he could get a fine of $250,000. If they let these guys off for probation, I'm telling you, man, it is so freaking, I really doubt they'll get any damn time. They're gonna put off sentencing a long time for the people to forget, and then they're gonna slap them all on a freaking wrist. So elements of defense, this is where when cops do something, or, cops only need probable cause to arrest. Probable cause is a set of reasonable circumstances that would lead a person to believe a crime was committed and this person committed it. That's all I need to arrest you. I don't need to really prove all the elements of the crime. As a DA investigator, when I get the case from these cops that arrest these people, we have to put the case together and make sure we can prove these. And if we can't, we have to go back and clean it up. And if this element is missing, then we have to go find it and prove it. So the elements of this crime was the defendant agreed with at least one other person. Conspiracy is normally two or more people conspiring. One other person to commit by extortion under the color of official right. So they completed that because they were on the job and refusing not to show up. The defendant knew the essential object of the conspiracy, so they knew they were going to get paid if they didn't show up for court and the case would get dismissed. So we got that element proven. The defendant knowingly and voluntarily participated in the conspiracy. It wasn't like they had his family hostage, or they held a gun to his head, or they drugged him. They knew they were doing it, so we have that. He knowingly did it. And the fourth element, there was an interdependence among the members of the conspiracy, that is, the members in some way or manner intended to act together for the shared mutual benefit. They all got money. They all took advantage of these poor DUI guys. They made them pay, and when they paid, they all took part of the cut. So the elements pretty much proven pretty easy on this one. Admission of facts, they all agreed that they went through, they joined the department, they swore to take an oath. Of course, they don't follow the oath. They don't care. They're protected because most of the cops are freaking sleazebags now. All they can do is write tickets and arrest DUIs. That's all they do. They don't stop crime. They don't work for the public. They don't try to make communities safe. They don't give back to the communities. They are worthless ticket writing, trying to get arrests to justify their jobs. They are enemy of the people in the community. 2020 code, I conspired with Menendez to work as an investigator. Thomas Clear, criminal defense attorney firm specializing in DUI. It goes in and explains it. So anyway, if you want to go read all these plea deals, you can go back to this article here and it will show each of the plea deals and you can click on each one of their plea deals. They pretty much all maintain the same. They're all scum and they all deserve to be under the jail. And you'll have cops paying back to blue. It's a tough job. You know, all the normal excuses. Oh, maybe they just came from a dead baby call. Oh, maybe they drink so much because the job's so tough. Oh, Rick, you were a cop. You should know. You have to back us. We ever really shut up. You freaking unethical lying pieces of shit, boys in blue. Every one of you deserve to be under the jail. I can't remember the last time I saw a cop help anybody or obey their oath and be a decent human being. I cannot remember the last time I've seen that. That's a damn shame. Isn't that there? Earning the hate.